Hi, welcome to another dose of virtual vitamin Z. My name is Stephen, and I'm the curator of humane education for the Detroit Zoological Society. Today, I'm going to be sharing our humane education activity of the week with you. And this is an activity that you can do that will give you a chance to develop some of the attitudes, knowledge, and skills that will help you help other animals in the environment. And this week's activity is that we're going to be creating nature art. And by doing this activity, we're going to be increasing our reverence, respect, and responsibility for nature. We're also going to be increasing our knowledge about natural materials and strengthening our creativity and critical thinking. And this is an activity that is, accessible for all levels. It's really easy to scale it up or down. And it's also an activity that doesn't require a lot of supplies. All we need are some stones, sticks, leaves, or other natural materials, and then optionally a camera if we want to take a picture of our art. And later on, we'll talk about the term ethics. So one activity that we can do is we can do what's called nature faces. And for this activity, we're going to basically collect natural materials like stones, sticks, leaves, and then we're going to draw a face with them. And if we want to extend this, one way we can do that is by finding part of a face in nature and then using those natural materials to complete it. So here's some examples. Here's an example I found online. As you can see, somebody used a large leaf for a face and then flowers for the eyes and nose and some sticks for the hair. And they left this on the side of a trail and somebody else walking by saw it and it made them smile, so they took a picture and shared it. Here's one I did. I was in my backyard and I noticed that there was some grass growing through a crack in the sidewalk. And so I saw that as hair and I completed the face by using sticks and a little bit of charcoal for the eyes. And so again, one way you can extend this activity is you can find parts of faces and then use those natural materials to complete them. You can also just go look if you can see any natural faces. Sometimes you might see, a face in a tree or something like that. Another activity, one of my favorites, is fairy houses. We can build a fairy-sized house using natural materials, so about the size of a thumb or, your hand. And an extension here is that we can then tell a story about the fairies who live in that house. So here's an example of a fairy house I made in my backyard. I collected a bunch of sticks and I used the sticks to make kind of a log cabin. And then I found a piece of bark for the door and some leaves for the roof. A couple minutes after I made this, I was looking somewhere else and my dog knocked it over. So I ended up extending this by telling a little story about the fairies who live here and how, they're very cautious of the dog in the backyard and they try to make sure that they build their houses, in secluded areas to avoid my dog. Here's another example that I found online. And what I really like about this is that they used some natural materials, but they also used the natural shape of the tree to make the tree a part of the fairy house. And so I thought that was really creative and really cool. So that's another way you can do it. And then finally, I think it's important when we talk about art to, always give the opportunity to let go of the rules and just express ourselves. And so the third activity is just free expression. Express your thoughts or feelings using natural materials. And then one way to extend this is you can search online for the work of some different nature artists like Goldsworthy or Basia, Irland. And maybe think about how they use nature to express themselves and model some of your work after them. So here's one example I found. I'm not sure what the artist was going for, but what it says to me is it's a celebration of all of the cool colors of fall leaves. And so the idea that nature is beautiful just in and of itself. And so I, modeled my own after that. It's not quite as elaborate, but I started to see some flowers in my yard. And so I really they're very small, but I wanted to call attention to them. So I used some sticks to make a bit of a circle around them. So when people walk by, they can see that, there's a flower there and celebrate the new life. So Another way that we can extend these activities is that we can use them as an opportunity to practice ethics. And when I say ethics, I mean thinking about what our relationship with other animals in the environment should look like. And in this case, one topic that comes to mind is, how much of an impact should we be having on animals in the environment when we go about our lives? And different people have different positions. Some people would say that we're a part of nature, so it's okay to have an impact. Whereas other people might say that we really want to minimize our impact on the environment and nature. And as humane educators, rather than telling people, here's what you should do, here's what you shouldn't do, it's important to us that we give people the tools to make those decisions for themselves. And so in this case, the tool takes the form of some questions we can ask as we do nature art. So as we're choosing our materials, one question we can ask ourselves is, do other animals or the environment need these materials more than I do? So I saw some really cool flowers, but I realized that these are the first flowers of the season, and bees and other animals probably need them more than me. And so rather than picking them, I built some art around them and took a picture. And then another question is, will using these materials harm other animals or the environment? So when I built my fairy house, I thought, well, glue might make this stick together better, or maybe some wire. But I realized that if an animal got that wire, it could harm them. So I decided just to use the sticks themselves. And then as we're creating the art, some questions we can ask are, will this art harm other animals or the environment? And will it be temporary or permanent? And again, I thought that if I used wire or other, non-natural materials, that might harm some animals. And then in general, if art is temporary, it's likely to have less of an impact than if it's permanent. So those are just some questions that we can ask ourselves, and it's a way to extend this activity from just a fun nature activity to a way to really reflect on our relationship with animals and the environment. And that leads me to some of the work that we do at the Detroit Zoological Society. In addition to incorporating art into a lot of our education programs, we also have a fine art collection. And the reason for this is that we know that art can really spark people to think about their relationship with animals and the environment. And to look at some of this collection, you can go to our website, and the link is below this image here. So as you go about this week, I would encourage you to, create some nature art. And when you do, take a picture and share it in the comment section so that we can all see what you do. And then I would also encourage you to reflect on your relationship with animals and the environment. And also be sure to tune in later today because my colleague Akila will be offering another dose of virtual vitamin Z at 2 o'clock. So thanks so much for your time. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye.